Hello, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. G.K. Kapoor, former professor, International Management Institute, IMI, New Delhi. I have been into teaching of business and corporate laws for around 50 years now and have been a Best Teacher Award winner in the year 2000 from ICAI, New Delhi. Friends, we have been talking about the law of contracts in India. And in that series on the law of contracts in India, today I am going to speak on contracts through post or email. The Indian Contract Act 1872, quite naturally, when the act came into force, there was no emailing. So, quite naturally, the heading under the Act is contracts through post. But if we look at the provisions of the law, they have been so well drawn up that they are relevant even in the today's context, that is where the contracts through email is becoming the primary source of contracting or primary mode of contracting. So, what are the rules relating to contracts through post or email? Now, in India, these rules are divided into communication of offer, that is, rules relating to communication of offer. Number two, the rules relating to communication of acceptance. And number three, the rules relating to communication of revocation of offer or that of acceptance. So far as rules relating to communication of offer are concerned, the rules are very, very simple and straightforward. The law in this regard says that an offer shall be deemed to have been communicated when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is addressed or to whom it has been sent. So, as soon as the person to whom the letter has been posted or the email containing the offer has been delivered, we shall say that the offer has been communicated. The communication of offer is a must, whether it is a case of a specific offer or even a case of general offer. I had talked about the case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt, particularly in relation to general offer. You know, here the facts of the case briefly I am going to repeat. Gauri Dutt had a nephew who was lost. So he sent his servant Lalman Shukla in search of the lost nephew. Lalman Shukla was able to find the lost nephew, but before he could bring it back to Gauri Dutt, having become impatient, he advertised a reward of rupees 100 to anyone who brings back his lost nephew or provides his whereabouts. After handing over the lost nephew, Lalman Shukla came to learn that there was a reward of rupees 100. So he approached Goridath and made a claim for that announced reward, which Goridath refused. Lalman Shukla filed a suit in the court of law, but he lost the case. The court said that when he handed over the lost nephew, he was not aware of the offer. He came to know of the offer after handing over the lost nephew. And at that point of time, when he came to learn of the lost nephew, there is, no lost nephew anymore. So there is no question of claiming any reward. So please, therefore, remember whether the offer is a specific offer or it is a general offer, it has to be duly communicated. Then, we have the rules relating to communication of acceptance. And relating to communication of acceptance, the rules are divided into two parts. One is the rules as against the proposer, that is communication of the acceptance as against the proposer, and the communication of acceptance as against the acceptor. Now, this is something which is peculiar to India, that we have divided the rules into these two parts. Now, why we have divided the rules into these two parts? The reason is that in India, even the acceptance is revocable. That is, even after the acceptance has been made, it can well be revoked by a faster means of communication. As against the Indian law on the subject, in England, say for instance, acceptance once given to an offer is irrevocable. Now, there Lord William Anson has very briefly and impressively described the law as it prevails in England by comparing the offer to a train of gunpowder and the acceptance to a lighted matchstick. The moment the lighted matchstick, that is, the acceptance, is applied to the train of gunpowder, it immediately explodes. It immediately explodes into a contract. That means there is no longer the train of gunpowder, that is the offer, nor shall there be a lighted matchstick. With that explosion, the lighted matchstick would have also got extinguished. So, once the offer has been accepted, it cannot be revoked as per the English law and probably as per the law prevailing in the whole world. But as we Indians are far more accommodating than probably the rest of the world, and particularly the Western world in any case, so therefore our laws are also indicative of the same. We want to give one more opportunity to the other person. So even acceptance, the person having accepted is given the opportunity to rethink and if he so desires, to withdraw his acceptance. But there is a point of time till it can be withdrawn. That is why the rules are communication of acceptance as against the proposer. That is, till what time the proposer can withdraw his offer. And beyond that, the contract shall be deemed to have been concluded and the proposer cannot go back. So, as against the proposer, the rule of law is that the acceptance is deemed to be communicated, deemed to be communicated. The moment the letter of acceptance or the email accepting the offer is put into the course of transmission. The only requirement is that the letter or the email must have been correctly addressed. Now, whether it reaches the other party or the other party has read it or not read it, or it might have been wrongly delivered to some other person, the acceptor has no responsibilities. The offer is deemed to have been accepted, and the proposer, if he backs out, does not perform, will be held liable in damages or for performance of the transaction. Now, this has very wide ramifications in law. Say, for instance, if a person has applied for shares in a company, does not hear anything, that is, does not get any response from the company with respect to his application for quite some time. The law casts a duty upon the applicant to find out as to what has happened to his application. Say, for instance, if the company had duly accepted his application and sent the allotment letter, and in the allotment letter they had demanded the balance payable amount also to be paid by the specified time, failing which interest at the rate of, say, 15% is chargeable. Now, the applicant, having not received any communication from the company, quite naturally does not deposit the allotment money. As I said, the law has cast the responsibility upon the proposer. So if he fails to find out what happened to his application, he will be liable to pay the allotment money along with interest. So, supposing he receives a communication from the company that having not paid the allotment money on time, now he must pay within next 10 days the allotment money with interest. He cannot take the plea that he is prepared to pay the allotment money, but why the interest? He never received any communication. That is why exactly we are studying the law to find out whose onus it is. So whether you are on the right side of the law or you are not on the right side of the law, if you so dispute. Now, the rules relating to or the law relating to communication of acceptance as against the acceptor, as I told you, has the relevance from the point of view of revocation of the acceptance. So, having sent the letter of acceptance, say through ordinary post, one may, by adopting a faster means of communication, say through fax or email, revoke that particular proposal. I mean, that acceptance. But acceptance can be revoked only and only till the letter of acceptance actually reaches the proposer and the proposer has learnt the contents thereof. That means before the proposer has actually received it, or even having received it, has not yet learnt the contents thereof, the acceptor is allowed to revoke his acceptance. My professor used to offer an interesting example on this. That was the time when telegrams in India were quite common, was one of the means of faster communication. So he, that means the proposer, receives, say, supposing the letter of acceptance as well as the telegram revoking that acceptance delivered by the same postman at the same time. That used to happen at times, that the same postman would come to deliver both a letter as well as a telegram. Now, which one shall be applicable? Whether acceptance will be applicable or revocation of acceptance will be applicable. So my teacher used to answer, whichever is opened first. That is the law of the land also, that which he comes to learn of first. And his answer used to be that anyone will have the anxiety to open the telegram first, because telegram used to be sent only for emergency or in emergency cases. So he will open up the telegram first and therefore might well repent that, oh, after opening the letter, he might well repent that why did he open this first. All subject to proof in the court of law, because students at times say, how can that be proved that which one you opened first? All subject to proof in the court of law, because even it is subject to prove that he received both letter and telegram at the same time. So the skill of the lawyer comes to play by questioning the party and by counter questioning. So he brings out the truth. So that is about, communication of acceptance as against the acceptor. Now, lastly, communication of revocation. Whether it is revocation of the offer or it is revocation of the acceptance, the rules are very simple. The communication of revocation shall be complete as against the person revoking the same, whether offer or acceptance, as soon as that letter of revocation or that email containing the message of revocation is put into the course of transmission. The moment the send button is pressed or sent is clicked, then it is deemed to have been delivered to the other party. So, from his point of view, of course, it stands revoked the moment he clicks the send button or puts the letter of revocation in the post box or delivers at the post office. But though it is deemed to be delivered in case of email the moment it is clicked, but that is not the case where it is sent by post. It might well take some time. So, as against the person to whom revocation is addressed, it will become effective only when the other party has actually received it and learned the contents thereof. So even though email is deemed to have been delivered, but will be effective only after the other party has actually learned the contents thereof. Everyone does not read one's emails every second or every minute. Some people will have a time fixed for emails, say before retiring to the bed, they might well like to check the emails. Some people may do it in the morning. There may be others who may do it only once in a week. But there are persons who remain online and may happen to receive and read the email immediately it is sent to them, it is delivered to them. So these are the rules relating to communication of offer, acceptance or revocation in case of postal contracts or where contracts are made through email. And these are contained in sections 4, 5 and 6 of the Indian Contract Act. That's all for the day. Thank you very much for having given your patient hearing. All the best till we meet again. Thank you.